Today I'm going to talk about mistakes entrepreneurs make and some of the points I'll kind of take a flip side of potential things that you could do to instead. And if you have any thoughts on the topic or another topic you'd like to hear about, leave it down in the comments. If you find the video interesting, give it a thumbs up and share it with someone you might think would find it interesting. So, not now to the topic at hand. Not focusing on one thing. Entrepreneurship is portrayed as sexy, and everyone thinks you have to chase the next big thing. But if you want to make consistent money, you have to focus on one thing and focus on doing it well instead of bouncing from product to product or service to service every 6 months or a year. There's an old adage: if you chase two rabbits, you won't catch either of them. Thinking you know it all. Humans have the gift of being able to learn, and the curse of ego, which sometimes tells us we know everything. To remain teachable requires some level of humility because you have to accept and admit you don't know everything. So I've talked about it a couple of times, but this is where a mentor or a coach potentially could be useful. Another thing is accountability or discipline. When people go from working as an employee at a 9 to 5 to being a boss as the entrepreneur, they don't have someone keeping them accountable except for themselves. So it's easy to let things slide if you're not disciplined. If you don't have a schedule to go by, you're not going to get as much done as you would like, and definitely won't get as much done as you should. People don't like to be micromanaged, which is why entrepreneurship sounds sexy. You get to be in control, you get to be the boss. But in reality, you have to micromanage yourself and what you're doing, what is your time, and your employees if you have any. If you're someone that takes it easy as, an employee, and then you decide you want to be your own boss, the product might not get manufactured in the timetable you initially set out because you're, maybe taking the afternoon off for a round of golf, or, you're spending 6 hours a day trying to be productive instead of maybe 10 or 12. So really you need to take a honest inventory of where you're at and where you want to be. Another thing is a business plan, which I've talked about in a couple of different videos. One of which happened to be comparing and contrasting a business plan versus, a napkin plan. So we really won't get into that here. One of the biggest mistakes is just not having a plan. Sometimes it could also be not having the right plan or not sticking to the plan. Starting a business, you want to make money by selling goods or services to your customers. So you want to have a document, whether it's a business plan, a napkin plan, a pitch deck, which is mostly for making a presentation to people you're asking for money. So an investor, basically. Or something like that that will elaborate on who, what, when, where, and how of your business. Another mistake for entrepreneurship, self-motivation. You have to know what motivates people, how to get yourself or others, if you have employees, to get started and stay on task. Part of this ties into discipline because as an entrepreneur, you're going to have to do things that you don't want to do. So self-motivation is going to keep the momentum once we use the discipline to get going. Self-awareness is another thing. You have to be aware of what your strengths and weaknesses are and find a way to fill in the gaps where you are weak so you can focus on your strengths. Sometimes self-awareness requires taking inventory, whether it's a personality test like Myers-Briggs, something like StrengthsFinder 2.0, to identify different skills you're strong at, or any number of other tools that are out there to assist you in maybe what you need to work on. Build a network. Relationships are important, whether it's business, personal, or a mix of the two. You never know when developing relationships with someone will pay off, so it's important to grow your network, and sometimes this gets overlooked. Learn how to sell. Running a business is a numbers game. How many sales are you making? Are you making the right amount of profit off the product or service? Is your product or service in front of enough people to get the right people to buy? There are many stages to the sales cycle. If you want to get results, you need attention to detail throughout the whole cycle because you never know what's going to potentially make the customer decide to buy from you or the competition unless you're on your A game. Look at your character. Your character often gets overlooked when you start a business because you're about selling products or services, so we don't think about selling ourselves. Confidence is a factor that can make or break a deal. How you communicate, your communication style, when you say something and how you say it, any underlying message you might be sending, even though you might not specifically be saying it. And of course, your body language and how you dress can say just as much about you as the message you're trying to convey. Are you honest and trustworthy? Someone with good integrity? What does your work ethic look like? All of these could easily be missed when trying to perfect your craft, and then one or all of them could trip you up while you're trying to sell to someone. Getting an audience. You need attention for your product or service, so building a following or an audience is a way to do this. Social media allows you to market yourself, your product, or your service, getting in front of other people. Mindset and beliefs. How you think and what you believe can either be an asset or a liability depending on where you're at. Obviously, there's a lot of videos and books out there about mindsets and beliefs, and I'll probably do some videos on it in the future. Hopefully you found some value in this video, and feel free to leave a comment and like or share if you did like it, and have a good day.